Good morning, good morning, good morning. Great day, great day. Let's definitely go ahead on and get into it. So let's talk about parenting, right? So when we have kids, they tell us everything about having a kid. They tell us about how bad pain is during childbirthing, the potentials of having to raise a child by yourself. All those things are discussed. But for me, and I've been somebody's mama half my life, my oldest baby is 19 years old. Nobody told me about the importance of covering, the importance of prayer, the importance of having God's covering over yourself as well as your children, even before conception, but definitely after conception. These babies are under attack. Their minds are under attack. Do you understand me? Do you understand the words that I'm saying to you? These babies are under attack. We're wondering why they're self-harming. We're wondering why they are choosing suicide because they don't want to feel anything. It's because the enemy is attacking their minds. They're telling them that nobody loves you, nobody cares. It'll just feel better to die. The state of depression, the state of anxiety. These babies need to be covered. They need covering in this time. They also have to understand that it's a spiritual fight. It's not a flesh fight. It's not man against man. It is a spiritual fight. And if you don't understand what it means to be at spiritual warfare, then you'll be lost. These babies need to be covered. I've been battling with rebellion in my children since my oldest was 10 years old. And I always would say, but God, I don't understand what I missed. I don't understand what it is that I've done that's just so bad that these kids are determined to hate me. They can love people that have blatantly done them wrong, but for me, it's like a challenge. I had a conversation with one of my daughters last night, and I asked her, I said, what exactly have I done to you? What exactly, like specifically, what exactly have I done to you? Because normally, for me anyway, if somebody has hurt me, I can tell you specifically, almost to the day sometimes, depends on what it is and who it is, how you hurt me, what you said, what you've done. I can tell you details on how that occurred and how it made me feel. So I felt inclined to ask her what exactly it is that I've done to you. She said, well, you make me feel like you don't want me around you. And I said, okay. I said, exactly what have I done to make you feel that way? She said, oh, well, there was a time in September when we were virtually learning and my work wasn't getting done. And you said to me, I didn't have a job. I ain't have no bills to pay. So what was it that was keeping me from getting my work done? I said, okay. And I still stand on that to this day. Because you have no other obligations other than school right now. That's your main objective, is school. She said, but I had other things going on in my mind that you didn't know about. I said, okay. I said, and at what point did you try to communicate with me to let me know what you had going on? She said, I didn't. I said, okay. I said, what have I told you your whole life? I can't help you with something that I don't know about. And I know for some of y'all, it's going to be like, but you the parent, you ought to know. I'm a parent. I'm a human too. I'm not Superwoman. I was made in the image of God, but I ain't God. There's some things you gotta tell me so that I can know. Because if I don't know, then I can't help you with what it is that I don't know. I know they think we got these supernatural powers as moms, but it's really just another title. It doesn't give us anything extra. But it's a praying time. When she said that to me, I said, so you are holding me into account for information that I didn't have, that I didn't know that I needed to take in consideration because I didn't know that the information was something that I needed. I said, so it sounds like to me, you failed to communicate with me and allow me to parent you and allow me to help you in that situation so that I could adjust my expectations. And I say adjust so that I can then take into account what other things you had going on. Because my expectations won't be lowered, but we can adjust. I use the example of if you broke your leg. I still expect for things to get done. We just got to do it at a slow and a different type of pace because now your leg is broken. We wonder what's going on with these kids. First, we got to sit down and talk to them. But again, talking to them is only going to be effective if they're willing to talk to you. You can't get blood out of a turnip, as my grandma would say. We got to teach these kids that you can communicate. That's the only way you're going to get help. I don't care if you got to write a letter. I don't care if you got to send in Morse code. You have to communicate. And us as the adults, we have to make sure that we're operating in the spirit of Christ. When we're in the position to help these children, not from a worldly position. Because a lot of the people that I've allowed in my children's life in the name of helping or their family, they're leading these kids right off a cliff. Because they're not walking in the spirit of Christ. They want to tell them about how their mama used to be. That's like telling me about an address that I once lived. I don't live there no more. We not talking about that. We talking about the present day. We talking about the present day, the here and the now, where I am now. We can't talk about the old. We got to talk about the now. And now is a praying time for our kids. We got to protect their mental health. We got to talk to them. We got to get an understanding of what's going on, because they are under attack. Mentally, they are under attack. And the devil feels, or Satan, or the enemy, whatever you want to call him, if he can get in here, then he got it. And when is it best to attack a king? When a king is strong and mighty and grown? No, it's best to attack a king when a king is in his infancy, when a king is in his youth. So why not attack the youth in their youth? And we're missing the idea. This is why these babies are suicidal. This is why these babies don't know if they want to be a girl or know if they want to be a boy, when that ain't even a decision that they got to make, because God already made it. But it's the enemy manipulating and playing. Why you think a lot of these people walk around here narcissistic? They gaslighting, they manipulating people. They always the victim, when really they the ones causing the hell. Protect these babies. All y'all young moms, young girls that want to have kids, understand something. Build your relationship with Christ. It'll make it all a lot easier. Because there ain't no parenting handbook out here. There's no right and no wrong. You live and you learn. It's that simple. When you learn better, preferably you will do better. But understand, these babies are under attack. You got to get them to communicate. But I'm going to tell you the challenge. And here's the challenge. Because we all say it. I love my kids. I'll do anything for my kids. But will you lay down your life and submit to God for your kids? Because it could be you that lead your generation and generations to come to Christ, to save the generations that's going to be after you. Will you lay down your life and submit to God to save your babies? Will you give up the cussing? Will you give up the partying? Will you give up the alcohol? Will you give up the weed? Will you give up the cigarettes? Will you give up your life for your kids? Because these are the things that they don't tell you when it comes down to parenting. You need God. You need God at your foundation for everything. But for parenting, it's one of the most essential pieces that nobody talks about. You got to pray and keep these babies covered. The Bible say pray without ceasing. And it took me a minute to understand what that means. But baby, I got it. I'm talking about everything you do, you got to pray. You got to keep these babies covered. Because they are not exempt because they children. The enemy don't care about them being children. He trying to keep any and everybody from seeing the face of God. You understand me? You got to pray for these babies. And don't let nobody tell you that you mean and you not doing it right because you want to hold these babies into their accountability. They must understand accountability and ownership early to stand into account for their choices, because life is choices and consequences, good and bad. They got to learn how to stand into account for what they did and what they didn't do. The sooner they learn that, the better, because God holds us all accountable. We all stand into account. There's his grace and there's his mercy. But at the same time, there are consequences for our behavior. The Bible speaks on it. You reap what you sow. So understand. Saved, sanctified, and filled with the Holy Ghost, you still will have to stand into account for the choices that you make. We got to teach this thing to our babies early. We got to pray for these babies. We got to pray without ceasing. Understand, the foundation is God. It has to be in everything that you do. But protect these babies. But I challenge you. I challenge you today. Will you lay down your life for your children? Do you love your children like you say you do? If you do, you will submit to God and allow him to be the head of your life and allow him to help you parent those children. Because those of you that feel like you a single parent, you only feel like you a single parent because you don't have God in your life. Because if you had God in your life and he was leading you, you would understand that you're never by yourself. And I understand that greatly because I raised all 4 of mine basically by myself. And if it weren't for God, if it weren't for God seeing me through, if it weren't for God opening those doors and those windows, sometimes it was a crack in the wall, but he made it through. He came through and he made sure that we always had what we needed. Even if it was day in and day out, it may not been in abundance, but he made sure on a daily we had what we needed. Even when I wasn't paying God no mind, won't giving him no time, he still covered me. But now is the time, people. Now is the time. Pray for these babies. Keep them covered. Lay down your life. Show God that you love them. Like you say you do. Because you got to understand one thing. Them God kids, he gave them to you. But you had a job to do. After that, God is totally in control. As much as they allow, because they God kids. God got a will for their lives just like he do yours. You can't control the will for yours, so you definitely can't control the will he got for theirs. Give them the foundation. Give them the foundation that's gonna make it easier for them. Introduce them to God. Whatever you want to call him. Introduce him. Introduce her. However it works for you. Make the introduction. It'll make it a lot easier for them. So they ain't got to go through this life fighting a battle that's not even the battle. Because the battle is not between men. It's not between flesh. It's not flesh. It's the spiritual battle. You got to know how to talk to that demon that's in a person that's being used. That person is being used. You got to know how to do that. You got to know how to give God back his word. You got to know how to speak that scripture. You got to know how to pray. And then you got to know how to wait on the Lord. That's foundational things. You gotta give it to these babies. They in war right now. Because again, when is it best to attack a king? Will you lay down your life? Will you do it? Will you do it today? Y'all have an amazing Friday. Fantastic Friday. Get money Friday. However y'all want to do it. Y'all have an amazing day. Let God be the foundation and the head of your life and all things that you do. I am Kay Waters. I love you all.